I genuinely feel we need to learn from our experiences from the pandemic and try and use some of that to influence how we deal with any seismic change like AI, Gen AI technology, etc. So I'm not a hardcore geek or a technology person, but what I have done always is use technology to enable decision making.
Now is the time, like this is the golden time in some ways, that people are so excited by it. 2025 is the time to be alive in technology. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the GCS Connect Leaders series. We've been doing some real interesting conversations with leaders in the AI space in the last few episodes, and Dr. Mona Ashok is definitely one of those. She has a long list of things for me to kind of go through with you what she does. She's an associate professor of digital transformation. She is the co-director of the Thames Valley AI Hub. She is a fellow of the UK Higher Education Academy, and she's also a member of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants and the BSI standards. She's also a trustee at Berkshire Youth. And moreover, she brings kind of 20 years global industry experience at companies like Tata and Emphasis, as well as a decade in academia. So she works at the Henley Business School and University of Reading. So it's someone that is kind of, we're very proud to have on the conversation. She's worked with many big projects, both globally with tech leaders, but she's also worked with politicians, with ethics communities, and she is really driving what AI will be, how it will be used, and how we can govern it. And we're going into a lot of detail about that because I think it's a very, very important subject to be thinking about as we see the progress of AI and what it means. It's good to know there are people like Mona who are thinking about how we can make it work for the best of everyone. So without further ado, here's Dr. Mona Ashok. Hi there, Mona. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Really excited to be on your podcast.
And we're really excited to have you. A proper academic, so someone we can really kind of look up to and learn from today. So we've got, as you said, Dr. Mona Ashok with us today, and she wears a variety of hats, from kind of academic in terms of working with government, working with public sector, and I've been very much involved with a new thing that she's running, which is the Thames Valley AI Hub. Of which she is one of the main proponents, and been learning a lot from it. You've probably seen on my LinkedIn, I've been to a few of the events and it's been really, really informative. But so we're very excited to have Mona there. And also, I am a Reading University graduate and she is a Reading University. We are both University of Reading people, so my alma mater. So it's good to kind of come home, as it were. So Mona, I think it's really important for everyone to kind of understand a little bit about your journey as a leader and as a technology leader, because it's been quite kind of wide ranging, and and it's definitely kind of you work for some really, really interesting organizations. So do you just want to kind of give us a bit of kind of history and background and maybe a little bit of understanding of what you do today?
Yeah, super. So I'm not a typical academic, as you alluded to. I've been in academia for over a decade now. Prior to academia, I've spent 2 decades in the industry. I'm trained as chartered accountant, and I spent a significant amount of my professional life in global tech industry. So I've worked with Tata's and a subsidiary of HP, which took me all the way from Japan, Australia, Singapore, India, UK, and the US. So I had the absolute pleasure of working in the tech industry globally with a variety of customers, and had the benefit of working on really, really large teams, virtual teams, things that kind of kickstarted during COVID. I had the pleasure of doing at pre-COVID as part of my role, and I think a lot of what we are seeing in terms of the technology advancements today, we have to kind of take a step back to see that we've had similar trends before. So we've had, you know, the .NET. We've had, when we had the World Wide Web introduced, we have had several instances in history where technology has predominantly changed our approach to how businesses operate, how they run, how they approach their markets. And in that vein, artificial intelligence isn't new, but I think what is new now is generative AI and how that is embedded into everything we do. And hence, in my academic career, my current focus is research is around the AI adoption, the tensions that AI create within organizations. How do you manage the value that comes out of an initiative like AI, and how do you then deliver good, be it for your employees or your customers or your external stakeholders, and ethical considerations of using digital transformation of any kind, especially AI and Gen AI. And so that's my current focus. And I have had the pleasure of writing written evidence to the UK Parliament, and last month I had oral evidence at the All Party Parliamentary Group on AI, where we discussed three overarching themes: AI regulation, AI governance, and AI ethics. So, it kind of brought together a large part of my research, and how does UK move forward in this particular journey. So it's very humbling to see that my research has the potential to make impact at that level.
And do you feel, as we're both in the UK, that the UK is in a kind of leading position within these areas, that is thinking about it, or are there countries that the UK looks at and thinks they're ahead of us?
So that's a very interesting question, and my written evidence, and hopefully once APPG publishes the report, um, there isn't a single country that could say that they lead in the AI race, if that's what we could call it. Predominantly because different nations have slightly different advantages. So we know that the US has significant amount of investment in AI models. They have a large number of AI models that tend to be accepted as a baseline model by the rest of the world. However, we also know that China is the front runner in terms of registering patents, AI related patents. They have a significant amount of investment. DeepSeek showed that the fundamental generative AI model doesn't have to be very expensive or take that long. So they are coming up with alternates to what we would otherwise accept as a baseline, which is the US models. If we look at EU, the EU's action plan shows that they are looking at investing 200 billion euros in terms of creating infrastructure, data centers, bringing together different capabilities across EU, and that's a very huge investment. If we look at other parts of the Commonwealth, be it Canada, Australia, and other countries, they are also taking a lead in terms of how do we deliver equity, how do you incorporate AI within how you govern, etc. And if you look at India, India is by far the nation to look for in terms of AI skills and capabilities, especially in terms of equity within the context of gender. India tends to have a more female population who's trained on these skills. When I presented my written evidence, my positioning was we won't be able to out invest or outpace our peers nations. It's just because we don't have the fundamental capability in terms of infrastructure, skills, investment, etc. But I came up with 8 key recommendations in terms of what next and how we can achieve the opportunities that AI create. And there are a few areas that I think we can take a lead. The first one is AI literacy. So embarking on that journey that everybody in the UK, and we start with schools all the way up into industries, professionals, as well as the general public, we achieve that, that could really help us get awareness of how AI and Gen AI tools are impacting our lives and businesses. So that is one area I definitely think we can take a lead if we focused on that approach. The second one is AI equity. There is a large proportion of division in terms of so a large part of investment comes from the US or Europe, that part, and then we have China, and then other parts of the world. But bringing them together is going to be the key essential ingredient, because we have to build on each other's capabilities, sustainability in terms of AI models, open source models, etc. In order to do that, we need a nation, and hopefully UK can play that role of bringing together the global south and the global north. And I very strongly feel that using our Commonwealth ties, using our diplomacy skills, we can create that role where we bringing together countries and nations and capabilities. So
And I
those
guess,
two here,
yeah,
we can do really well.
and I guess kind of to me, obviously, we're talking about countries here, but technology is so kind of, it really is borderless. And maybe the kind of China is set its own digital borders. But do you feel, I mean, we're talking political here, then, in the kind of, we talked about the EU there, but things like the kind of United Nations, that sort of thing, are they also developing kind of AI policies that would be for the world of humanity, that this is how we should deal with each other? Do you see that?
So again, different countries are using different forms of governance and structures and legal or regulatory bodies. By far advanced is the EU's AI Act. We know US has also introduced certain regulatory frameworks. We are trying to do that. Other countries have also got their frameworks. So it's more disjointed at this point, but some nations are further ahead, or some regions are further ahead than the others. And as I said, the EU's AI Act is the most comprehensive one. Um, it would be, and as I explained in my Houses of Parliament evidence, I think there are three cogs to the underlying problem. Uh, we need regulatory framework in order to ensure that we have some legal structures within which organizations use and how they use AI within the UK. The second one is going to be around governance. And these structures can be designed which are relevant to a particular industry. So, what frameworks and governance frameworks is required for education is fundamentally different to what might be required in a healthcare setting or a defense setting or an infrastructure, etc. So certain things have to be led more by the industry or the sector, because they are more closer to how AI is adopted in that, and the repercussions of using that. And the third part of the cog is standards. In my role at the British Standards Institution AI committee, as well as representing BSI at the European Joint Task Force on AI, we are working tirelessly to create these standards which organizations can use. And again, there's a lot of work being done by the European SEN. It's also, we have ISO, we have other parts of the world creating. It is about bringing these together. So as I said, it's regulation, standards, and governance. Those three, the regulation cannot really cover all the use cases, but when we have something which is at a sector level, then that governance structure might be more specific use cases. And then using these standards will allow us to have a mechanism to audit how organizations are reporting these metrics, how they are incorporating AI. So I think that approach is likely to be more successful than using regulation as the only pillar.
Sure. And like one of the things I like that the TV AI Hub, and we will share the links to the TV AI Hub, which is for obviously particularly interesting if you live in the Thames Valley, but hey, it's still interesting.
Yeah.
Is that uh, from what I've seen thus far, that your focus is AI in a sector. AI, we've done 2 on healthcare thus far. I know the next one is education, and I think that's what I've seen as a recruiter, is that it's invasive in all industries and all sectors. You know, you've just said every single country, every single level of politics, every single academic institution, every single business. You know, that everybody's thinking about it, isn't it? That's what's kind of fascinating about it. You know, that it has an effect. It's a thing, isn't it? I guess.
No, in my opinion, it is an enabler.
Mm.
And organizations across the board and employees across the board are now using uh, AI enabled tools, be it generative AI, etc., in different ways and forms. And yes, the Thames Valley AI Hub is a consortium that brings together experts and academics from the university, but also brings in experts from the community within Thames Valley, be it recruitment people, be it on large companies, etc. What we want to create is a platform where we can bring together our community, be it general public, be it companies that need AI, be it companies that are delivering AI services and solutions, bring them together with the academics so we are able to identify key challenges and issues that we need to be addressing as a community, and then use this platform to build on several sectors, as you said. We've done 2 sessions on healthcare. The next one is on education. And we want to have these open debates and open questions. We want the panel to be discussing, what is going well, what is not going well. So it is to kind of empower our community to come together, to have a voice based on the feedback we've received. We are also running an AI skills session next week. That's our first skills session, and that's the interesting bit, is we are able to now build on the feedback from these events to do something more. So we are hoping to have another session on policy and implications and group. And I think that's the joy of having the TVI AI hub, is you're able to bring together parties who are interested for projects to see how we can enable other industries. So we are hoping to do some projects with charity, etc. So it is to empower folks in this particular area. But if you're not here and you want to participate in a working group, most welcome to work with us on that capacity as well.
Fantastic. And that was just to kind of bring it back to you yourself, Mona. You know, obviously, as you said, you started as an accountant, and then you've had
Yeah.
a kind of global career with primarily Tartan and Emphasis, so big global kind of brands. You know, when you started your career, has your kind of, did you think, right, this is how I will, like, not end up? Obviously your career is still kind of going, but did you think this is where you'd get to, or is this a
Oh no,
surprise for yourself?
it's an evolving. It's evolved through the process. So I'm not a hardcore geek or a technology person, but what I have done always is use technology to enable decision making. So I was in management consulting, now in academia, and uh, I think having that finance background, understanding how organizations cost projects, what is the benefit of running projects, how do you deliver benefits, how do you go and speak to your external customers, those skills are slightly different to academic skills. So what I've done is I look at my career as a jigsaw puzzle, and each part of my journey has brought in slightly different capabilities and skills. And now I think I'm at a point where, after more than 3 decades, I'm able to bring them together informing policy, or when I do my research in terms of funded research, industry connections, etc., I am able to speak different perspectives, see different lenses. And I think that's the benefit I bring, is that I'm not talking from a pure academic, I'm not talking as a pure professional, I'm not talking as a pure industry person, but I'm able to see different perspectives. And I have the ability to sit down and listen to different opinions and bring down what is the core concerns, how do we move forward, especially in the context of AI, which is evolving. So, I see, as I say, myself as a piece of jigsaw puzzle, and I'm building those different capabilities and evolving as much as I can in a fast-paced world.
And when you say evolving, this is another thing I found interesting, particularly this year when I've been speaking to leaders that have been in the industry for some time, but seem so impassioned about something that's happening now. I like to think about it like, people always say with music or books or TV, like it was much better in the old days. This was like, I love the music from the 90s or something. That was the best music, and all music nowadays is rubbish. And that's partly because you're getting old, right? And we're both kind of at the other end of our career, I think. But what I've kind of got from people like yourself is that this is now is the time. Like, this is the golden time in some ways, that people are so excited by it. This is like the biggest thing to happen. And I get that sense from yourself. I heard it from a few other people. They've been in the industry for 30 years, but now this is like
Well, I
2025
think
is the time to
it's
be
the right
alive in
time to make a
technology.
change, isn't it, David? So, if we look back on social media, we did not get either the governance
Mm.
regulation on that right at all. We missed the boat completely. So, within the community of AI experts from different backgrounds, there is that huge sense of emergency because the technology is evolving so quickly. It's embedded in everything that we do. Uh, and we have to be passionate about how we are going to somehow have some form of framework or governance around how we use this technology. A, because it has huge potential. B, because it also has the huge potential to get it wrong. And we also have to have an underpinning understanding that it has an impact on environment. These large models, these large language models, they need extensive supercomputer power. We know that that needs exceptional amount of electricity to run, and to keep them cool we need extensive amount of water. Now these resources are scarce, and if we are to use these without some understanding of how future generations will benefit, we will leave them in a real poorer shape, which is why across the world, and speaking to colleagues from different parts of the world as well as different industries, there's this huge sense that there's huge potential, but we need to understand what are the challenges that we face, and let's try and come together to somehow get to grip before this gets out, just like the social media situation we had a few years ago.
So, and I guess the other thing around AI is that it's pretty much accessible. And we talked in previous episodes about the kind of dark art of software engineering is now slightly not so dark anymore, because it's possible to code stuff, no code, no SQL. You can build things for yourself now. And obviously you've got this very, very powerful tool that you can use, which, obviously I work in technology recruitment. And one of the reasons why technology recruitment is such a successful industry is it's very, very hard to get into it, as you know, and you've probably seen. But I think AI is much more open to everyone, which is a great thing, right? It's a leveler. But at the same time, and I'm interested about your point about AI equity, but at the same time, that means that the the dangers of it and the ability that it has to fundamentally change the whole world, and potentially not in a good way, is something we need to all be very, very aware of.
Oh, absolutely. So, as I said, AI isn't new. But what changed November 2022 is when OpenAI, launched ChatGPT. And that suddenly meant that we had free access to large language models, and generative AI became accessible and free to the whole world. Suddenly, everybody, all of us, suddenly felt that this was the cool thing to do, and we need to adopt this particular technology. And there's been a huge wave of acceptance of large language models as you know absolutely fine. Okay, so at work, if you have Microsoft 365, Copilot is accepted as, yeah, you have it as a bundle, you're using it knowingly or unknowingly, etc., etc. So um, the last 2 3 years, there's been a huge wave of interest in what is predominantly generative AI. But we need to step back and see how we are governing this. How do we know that it was set up appropriately? What data was used to train these models? How do we know that wasn't biased? And how do we know what comes out is going to be for the greater good? And although it feels impossible, but we will potentially have another technology coming in the next decade or 2 decades, which will also seem impossible at that point. The technology is always going to evolve. Different industries will play different roles. We need to kind of take a step right now to kind of slow down, see where we are, what we have learned from previous lessons that we have learned from previous technology, major technology introductions and advancement, and then see how we get this right. And because it is extensive in terms of investment, power, etc., this is a chance to bring different nations and different bodies together to build on each other's capabilities rather than compete. That's going to be a tall task because everybody is trying to outcompete each other on AI and Gen AI capabilities, and there's been a huge focus on nationalistic views, right? So we all want to develop capabilities in house. We all want to have the data centers here. Good and bad, both of them go with such sentiments. If we had more global approach, we could use centers elsewhere. But then, there's the cost of accessing that data, cost of, getting that, paying somebody else to host our data, the security that comes with cyber security issues that come with hosting data, etc. And on the other spectrum is if everybody is going to try and replicate in-house, well, that builds competencies, that raises skills, that gives employment. So there are pros and cons on both sides. So uh, it almost feels like we need to learn how COVID brought the whole world together. So we didn't get it right by being nationalistic, by being regional. We got it right by, having two or three different versions take the lead, and then we had to have a overarching strategy of how to vaccinate the world's population, how to distribute those vaccines, etc. So there is some amount of learning. As I teach operations management and project management. I genuinely feel we need to learn from our experiences from the pandemic and try and use some of that to influence how we deal with any seismic change like AI, Gen AI technology, etc. So that we could draw parallels from that experience.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And working together obviously helped us to hopefully kind of get out of it sooner. And that was also
Yeah.
a technological advance in the way they developed the kind of the drugs
Absolutely.
and
And also cost implications.
yeah.
If we had waited the standard 18 months or 24 months before we were able to trial out and roll out vaccinations, we would have huge impact globally. So there was a huge amount of technology built in to allow us to move there, and the vaccine preparedness, etc., has moved, miles in the last few years with the use of AI. So there's definite good learnings from the
Yeah.
pandemic, and also industries can definitely remove a lot of mundane tasks that we are spending huge amounts of time administratively to free up our time to do what really adds value.
Yeah, sure. I guess it kind of links. I always interested in that the story of the internet when kind of internet was first kind of invented in terms of that Tim Berners-Lee, and they said if he had
Yeah.
kind of patented the internet and said, right, this is my invention, and you have to pay me to use the internet because I've kind of come up with this. I don't know if he was doing it in CERN and stuff. It might have been difficult for him to do it, but then he would have owned it, and it would have been a kind of a capitalist thing. But he said no, or CERN said no. This is something everyone can use, right? And I guess the other kind of part of AI is thinking about, you're talking about governance, you're talking about you know regulations, ethics, and you're talking about countries, but you're also talking about capitalism and
Oh,
who
absolutely.
owns this, right? So at the moment, you like said, OpenAI kind of own it, also Microsoft own it, and there's a number of competing technologies in different places. So therefore, it almost have been better if someone had come up with a large language model and said, "Here you go, everyone kind of use it. It's like an open source tool as opposed to
Yes, I know. I mean, sustainability plays a key role will definitely play a key role in how AI and Gen AI evolves. One, if uh, the code is open, obviously we can reuse the code. Second, it allows different experts to test it, different experts to apply it in different settings. We learn from that, and we are able to then adjust our approach very quickly because there are so many experts who are working on the code across the world. So that will be a fundamental game changer because these models are expensive to train. They're using a huge load of natural resources and electricity to run. And these data centers, building them, et cetera, is a long-term investment, and it won't happen today and now. And therefore, if we come up with a situation where we build on each other's capabilities, where we are able to build on each other's code, it would be brilliant. But if you look at organizations that who have their bread and butter invested in these models, etc., their argument is also valid. How do we make money if we have to keep everything open?
Hmm.
So we have to come up again. I go back to the COVID vaccine situation. We have to come up with something which will work for uh, you know greater good, public value, as well as for organizations, for countries, for sectors, etc. So these use cases of what uh, we could allow to be commercial versus use cases which we would probably like to have them more open source, etc., would enable organizations to accept that some part of it might be built on somebody else's capabilities, but you still have some mechanism of making money from AI and AI driven services and platforms and businesses.
And is that why you feel, with regards to governance and with regards to, obviously, you, like I said at the start, you wear a lot of hats. You work with active ops on the AI ethics. You work with the BSI. You work with, not non for profit. You work with TVAI as well as Reading University, and you're very much kind of active in this community. Do you feel it's kind of inherent with your knowledge that this is something I must do? Have you do you feel a mission to do this?
Absolutely. I almost feel like I'm able to connect with different communities, be it policy, be it industry, and doing those projects, be it funded projects, setting out AI ethics committee with Active Ops, and I sit on it as an external independent expert, or be it my work as a trustee. It allows me to give back, and I think that's my fundamental principle. I learned because there were brilliant mentors and brilliant colleagues and customers and clients with whom I worked, who helped me develop key skills in different parts of my journey. And now I'm in that golden phase where I'm able to connect those dots and bring together colleagues. So, bring capabilities from different industry, introduce them. And, if some of my research and work allows us to have some underpinning frameworks that organizations or governments can apply, that would be an absolute, that would be a win for me personally, is that my work is is providing a baseline to for organizations or governments to design their AI strategy or AI regulation strategy or AI governance strategy. It's just a way of giving back because I built on generosity of several mentors and colleagues over the years, and that's the only way it will work in my opinion.
Yeah, that's how we build that kind of going forward. You pass it forward. And talking about that, you're obviously associate professor of digital transformation at Henley Business School, which is part of University of Reading. Do you see, when you're working with your students, are you excited by what they're coming up with? When you're seeing their, I'm sure you're kind of final year doing their dissertations and that sort of thing. I mean, are you seeing some real progress? That you're thinking, like you said before, like 20 years down the line. Do you think there's some exciting stuff?
Oh, some of the projects are really exciting. I also, I've had the pleasure of supervising and moderating undergrad dissertations, master's dissertations, and I supervise doctoral students as well.
I think you said at the
And
start, it keeps you very busy, though, doesn't it? I think this is obviously the challenge, right? You're wearing a lot of
That's
hats, and you're a very
normal.
busy
That's
woman.
my full-time job.
Mm.
Yeah, if anybody asks me to introduce myself, I always say I'm a mother. That kind of explains.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. That's even more
I
hats, the biggest
I wear
hats.
many hats. But the some of the projects that our students are doing are absolutely astonishingly, on variety of subjects. And I'm also external examiner at other universities, and I get a chance to then see the projects that their students are doing, and in some cases they have international partners. So I'm reviewing student material from other parts of the world, and I work with universities and higher education institutions in different countries. So genuinely, the projects that we are seeing, a lot of them are in different areas, different methodologies that they bring together, the type of data that they are using for analysis. Really interesting stuff. But with the advent of Gen AI and the access to Gen AI tools, sometimes as an academic, when we read assignments or exams, take home exam scripts, we are seeing somewhere in the middle where you have average essays or average responses, and a large part of it, I think, is driven by access to generative AI tools. It's almost impossible, or in fact, in my personal opinion, not helpful to tell students that they shouldn't have access to generative AI for at university level at least. So, we are finding somewhere average in the middle where it's difficult to assess their understanding of the topic. But we are finding that, how students differentiate with their colleagues is by applying what they have learned into practice, into particular scenario. And that really differentiates. In many ways, and I have a teenager. In many ways, I think it's our duty, the current generation's duty, uh, to to basically teach the younger generation, to inform them of this powerful technology, but also inform them of don't trust everything that comes out of ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool. There are inherent biases because of the way it was set out. They sometimes hallucinate. We know that. Sometimes make up references, which is always something we look out when we have examination scripts, etc. That the references are not valid references. So there's definite potential for good. So if you had a minute to try and summarize Kantian ethics, you couldn't do it. You and I couldn't do it in 1 minute. But ChatGPT does a very good job of synthesizing existing material. But that has to be a starting point rather than copy pasting that as your answer. And that's where I think we have to educate our future generations is don't trust everything you see on the social media or what comes out of an AI tool, but use it responsibly and use it to consolidate information, etc. And that is the skill I think we need to develop, even with ourselves, because when we are reading reports or LinkedIn posts or any material, we have to get better at understanding whether it was deep fake or is it real, or how do we differentiate whether it was created by a large language model or by an individual. So we have to work on I think more in terms of education and literacy and how to use it more responsibly. Then I think we are doing a good job for future generations to take this forward.
So to kind of, to bring us to a close, I mean, what I think is really interesting is you have the kind of the opportunity, as it were, to actually have conversations, due to your prominent place within the educational community and the technology community, to actually have the conversations with people, with the powers that be, as it were, to actually have, that other people might say, oh, I wish we could do this, I wish we could do this. And so when you speak to kind of politicians and business leaders, do you feel that there's certain things that you believe you must kind of get across? What are the key pieces of advice that you do give them? And I guess my second question as part of that is, are they really listening? Do you think they take this as important? There's so many other things to worry about: climate change, war,
Yeah.
etc., etc., etc. Is this top of the priority list, or is it something that's
No,
a
it's an
B
interesting
level
question.
type thing?
I think organizations are now taking the disruptions because of AI seriously. But as we've seen in the past, that does not necessarily mean that they are investing any amount of time to get it right. So, what we've really achieved is there is an overarching understanding that the tool is disruptive, the technology is disruptive, and we are seeing an increasing interest across the board, all sectors, to try out some use cases of adoption. And those who have gone further into the understanding of the technology and how powerful it can be are also very keen to figure out whether they are meeting regulatory requirements or how do we get this right. So they are. So we have organizations on the spectrum of those who are really good, have set out all the underlining governance structures, those who are trying it out, who want to dip their toes, they're uncertain, and then somewhere in the middle. So but there is one thing we've really achieved is there is a lot of understanding that this technology is disruptive. It is quite all the recent consulting research and government reports, all of them show that organizations know this is going to be a game changer for them. Now, the next step is what are they going to do about it? Are they going to set out governance structures to ensure that they are looking at ethical considerations, or are they going to wait and watch, try out a few things, and then see what others are doing? It again depends on the risk appetite of the organization as well as their own approach and how their internal boards. and their own governance structures are influencing them. So, in many ways, I think having an organization that is using AI, what I fundamentally think they need to do is get a group of people, you might call it an AI ethics committee or a governance committee, but you need a group of people who have an oversight. And diversity there is going to be fundamental. I don't mean diversity in terms of gender or color or race. That's not the diversity I mean. That will play a role. But what I mean is getting people with different perspectives. So, having an academic, somebody who's looking at it from a coding perspective, somebody who's looking at it from applying this, somebody who's looking at it from a selling perspective, who has the value for the customer understanding. You get a group of people who have different perspectives and backgrounds, sit there and discuss the implications of using AI or Gen AI, then you are on the right path. That is something which organizations can do really quickly, and that's within their control. And then you can go on down this, the more forward structure of adopting AI standards from either ISO or BSI or European standards. That's brilliant. Then see what you can do in terms of meeting regulatory requirements, etc. And also financial reporting requirements is something which I have put down as one of the recommendations, is having some form of metric that we encourage our organizations in the UK to report. So we have some, you know, some standardized way of understanding how much investment is going into AI and Gen AI and what value it delivers. So some of these things are easy to do. Some of them depend on how regulatory frameworks evolve, and some of it is more driven by the industry. So if you're a healthcare, organization, then NHS funds have certain parameters within which they can use the technology, etc. But uh, there's definite excitement about the technology. There's a lot of discussions, and organizations and governments are talking about it. They are more open to people raising questions. So there's definite across the party interest in the topic, and some of them are further ahead, some of them are late adopters, and a lot of them are somewhere in the middle, would be my long answer.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I think it's obviously a live topic, and one that it's good to know, Mona, that there are people like yourself that are actually interested in this stuff, because I think one of the key things I take away is maybe we got it wrong with social media, so let's not get it wrong again. I think that's the key
Yeah.
point. So
Yep.
I've got two more questions. What's next for you? What are you most excited about? About the next few years in terms of technology, and for yourself.
uh, so next 2 years, I want to continue the policy and more strategic work in terms of working with large organizations or even SMEs to set out their AI strategies, their AI ethics and governance structures. So I am looking at a policy implication as well as more in terms of how organizations can adopt and manage the tensions that come with AI. Those two aspects are really key to my heart, and I'll continue working with the British Standards Institution because it plays an integral role of how we will create those standards which organizations can adopt. So it's all exciting in terms of working with my doctoral students who are doing really really diverse but related to AI and digital transformation work in different parts of the world, which is really exciting because it's not in a particular geography. So learning from what their research brings forward, and hopefully, TVI will create that platform of a joint voice to take AI seriously, to get the region, well recognized in the UK, and then yeah, and then upwards and onwards from there.
Very good, very good. And my last question might be a bit cheeky. We kind of talked about it. Do you think we are living in a golden age of technology? Is this the best time?
See, I don't think AI is going to be the last cool thing that we will ever come
Mm.
across, because we've seen the technology evolves pretty quickly, but definitely AI and Gen AI and access to large language models has fundamentally changed a lot of things that uh, we do right now. So it's definitely an interesting era of bringing together organizations, nations, skills, etc. Um, so it's really interesting time. But if I were a betting person, I wouldn't say it's going to be the last coolest that we or our future generations will see.
Good stuff. Well, I guess that's also linked into if we don't blow ourselves up in the meantime using it, if you know what I mean. So yeah. Thank you very much, Mona. It's great to speak to you, and thank you for all the work you're doing in terms of bringing AI to the community and to bringing people's awareness of ethics and regulation into this world. So it's been very, very interesting to talk to you, and thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you. The pleasure is all mine.